Welcome to Buckets, your daily NBA betting podcast, live from the Tommy John Home Studios. When you're truly comfortable, you do everything better, and that includes betting. We've got one game on the slate, but it's a good one. Game 6, Celtics, Knicks. Lot to break down here, fellas. I'm your host, Brandon Kravitz, along with Action Network futures analyst Brandon Anderson and Mr. First Half Full Game himself, Bryan Fonseca, on the podcast today. Let me catch you up on where we're at right now. The Mavericks have the number one pick. The NBA is rigged, and we've all been handed the script. We'll give you the pieces of it that we can. Meanwhile, in the NBA postseason, the Pacers, of all teams, advance to the conference finals. The Timberwolves also advance in the West, and hopefully for my betting account, by the time you're listening to this, the Nuggets have pushed their series to a 7th game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But before we dive too deep, a reminder that the WNBA season has tipped off, and if you are an Action Pro subscriber, our brand new WNBA projections are now available in the Action Network app. So whether you're looking for an edge betting WNBA sides, totals, player props, Action Pro projections are the perfect tool for your toolbox this season. If you aren't an Action Pro subscriber just yet, you can get $20 off an annual subscription right now. Just visit actionnetwork.com/pro to sign up. That's $20 off the annual subscription price at actionnetwork.com/pro. Brandon Anderson, you went all in on the Celtics a couple of pods ago. I am curious, as we sit here in this precarious position for both of these teams, where you sit right now. Not necessarily best bets, we'll get to that, but your general feelings on where you were and where we stand today.
I mean, I was all in on the Celtics. I unfortunately was all in on like 6 different Jason Tatum series leader bets. So, you know, all in one moment, I lost a lot of units of bets. I thought I lost all the Tatum ones, and I thought the Celtics ones were dead too. And then we got game 5, and the Celtics, you know, like, it doesn't really feel like the Knicks came out in the second half. It's not like the Celtics just kind of hit all their shots. And a lot more troubling to me, like, obviously we know the threes. Boston hits 22 of 49 threes, 45%. They're going to win that game most of the time. New York, 40% on threes, but 19 less. Like, we already knew that math problem is going to not go well. But presumably, Boston doesn't shoot 45% 2 more games in the series. They're going to have to win a different way. A lot bigger problem to me is Boston goes 22 of 35 on twos, 63%. New York was 17 of 51, 33%. And that's, I think, after going a little bit up at the end of the game. Like, that is a much bigger problem. The Celtics turned it over only 9 times. I honestly, Brandon, I thought that the Celtics were cooked. How do you not take the gut punch of seeing Jason Tatum down 3-1? We all spent the last few days before that saying, like, this is it for the franchise. Like, you're blowing it up. This is the end of this group. It would have totally made sense to me to just come out and kind of lay an egg. Like, all right, we're done here. Like, KP or Drew's getting traded. Horford might retire. Tatum is out. Like, you've done the thing. To me, making the twos, stopping New York on twos, like the defense is being locked in, not turning it over. That's Celtics basketball. Like, that's the good kind of Celtics basketball. That's locked in process, getting good looks, getting good 2s and 3s looks in the game. I don't know what New York's rule was on that. Did New York just kind of do the thing we've seen so often? I'm like, we're up 3-1. We'll get them home in game 6. They shouldn't. We just saw Golden State try that last round as the veteran team, and they got home to game 6 and didn't get it. And then it arguably cost them, even though they won the series. Steph gets hurt 2 days later with the hammy. That's all related to kind of the attrition there. And you know, the Warriors are home now. Go Wolves. So, yeah, I don't know. I am not ready really to believe, like, most of my Celtics futures are East futures. So I'm a long ways away still from recovering. Like, I don't just need to win game 6 and not just game 7. I got to beat the Pacers now too without Jason Tatum. So personally, I'm not ready to get too many hopes up. I'm not looking to, like, whatever I'm at, like, quintuple double down on the Celtics. I'm not there yet. I'm ready to laugh at the Knicks, though. Like, it's all gravy for me. It's just like, what else can this team screw up at this point?
Bryan, when you look at the way the Celtics played, they were so smooth. The ball movement was crisp. Joe Mazzulla finally figured out Kristaps Porzingis has to get the hell off of my basketball court. Are you in any way subscribing to the belief that this team is operating better or will operate better without Jason Tatum? And it doesn't have to be an anti-Jason Tatum take for you to say yes to that, in my opinion.
Better, no. But it is forcing their hand in terms of operating differently. So what was happening in game 4 when Jalen Brunson and Jason Tatum were going shot for shot in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, the Knicks opened up their offense a little bit, and they had Mikal Bridges getting to his fadeaway. They had Jalen Brunson getting to his shots. OG Anunoby had a drive. Karl Anthony Towns had a drive. And there was flow. There was rhythm into their offense. Guys were moving the ball around. And Boston, on the other side, was running Jason Tatum, save us. Make a shot. Jason Tatum, go create. Go find a mismatch. Go find a switch. Go ISO one-on-one. Nobody else was really doing anything. Porzingis tried. He got fouled at one point, but ultimately, they couldn't get it done. And without Tatum, the concern I sort of had for this last game was all right, is Jaylen Brown going to, for better or worse, fill that role of Jason Tatum and be all right, it's my fucking turn now. And I'm going to mismatch hunt and I'm going to find isolations and the weak spots. Get on my back. I was the finals MVP. I'm going to get 40 and then we'll be good. And I would have been alarmed if that was the case. Jaylen Brown instead played a great game, great floor game, didn't get the turnovers that both Brandon and I thought he was going to get because we both had the turnovers over. He played a good floor game. Derek White, who I thought was going to kill the Knicks, did. Payne Pritchard, who I thought was going to kill the Knicks, also kind of did. He shot terribly, but not from three. And I think that's sort of the formula. It's actually moving the ball around and generating good looks because, we were talking about on buckets prior to that game. Is this going to be just pass, shoot? Or are they going to have cuts? Are they going to cut to the rim? Are they going to shoot everything from three? Or are they going to have a balanced attack? Well, they were getting a lot of threes. They were generating a lot of threes because obviously, especially in this modern NBA, where you lose your best guy, to overcompensate, you're going to try to get up a lot of threes, and Boston's going to do that regardless of who's out there anyway. But they did hit cutters. They did get to the free throw line enough. They actually missed 9 free throws. They shot 65% from the free throw line, but their offensive process was good. It's as good as it's been all series outside of maybe game 3 where they just dominated the Knicks and were just making every shot possible what felt like the entire game. But that was a great game. Now it's can you do that again? There are certain elements I think can carry over. I don't know if Luke Kornet's going to be Dikembe Mutombo again. But there are certain things that can carry over, I think, from that game that should be worrying for Knicks fans if nobody shows up outside of Jalen Brunson, who's the only guy that I'm he'll show up in this game. Everyone else, we kind of don't know.
I think the thing that looked so much better and more crisp to me was that they allowed their twos to set up their threes rather than just running into threes. And that's where I feel like they lost their identity a little bit, and they just tried to shoot their way out of their slump rather than actually creating opportunities for themselves. Mm-hmm. Those twos that they were generating in the first half allowed them to shoot threes with more confidence. And then what Boston does is that when they realize they are shooting well, then they put you away with the three. It's the finishing move in the WWE rather than just simply bombing the whole game no matter the result of the bomb. And I felt like that was one of those things that was different. Now, Brandon, one of the aspects that we cannot ignore with what went down in game 5 is that Jalen Brunson picked up 5 fouls in what felt like a minute and a half. And I don't think you're able to play with the level of aggressiveness and the way that he wants to get to the basket. You get one offensive foul, boom, you're out of the game. That fourth quarter, he wasn't able to go into takeover mode in the same way that we've seen in the past. He's still great, but I do wonder if the Celtics perhaps were a bit fortunate there.
Yeah, I mean, look, 5 fouls in that small of a span. Obviously, you're a little fortunate. I don't know that the Knicks can really complain too much. Brunson complaining about fouls would be a pretty rich thing to complain about, given all the grifting that we've seen in the first half of that game and the entire rest of the playoffs. You know, stuff's going to even out. It is going back to New York, though. We're going to New York. And as little as we think of home court now from a capping standpoint, there's no question the biggest thing that home court historically has meant is a home whistle and getting those home calls a little bit more when the fans are a little bit louder there. So I do think that that's a thing to pay attention to. Obviously, cat foul trouble has been a thing in the series related to a play I'll have coming up. The Celtics, if they don't have Porzingis as even an option anymore, don't have a lot of bigs left anymore. So Al Horford, is that foul trouble possibly in play? Do we need to see Luke Kornet Mutombo again? Because I agree, probably not a thing you want to count on, but if you need that, that's not great for the Celtics' chances. So, yeah, I so far in the series, we've had Boston have huge leads in, is it all but one game now? Is it every game? I forget.
Even in game 4.
Yeah, so we've seen that. We've seen the big lead happen. Boston's offense, I think it's Boston's defense that drops off more without Jason Tatum. We didn't see that the last game, but I think defense, I think on the rebounding, that's where they should be missing him more. I think the offense can survive and can even look smoother at times, like we're kind of acknowledging. So Boston's going to score. Boston's going to get their threes up. They're going to take them. They're going to get probably a lead in the game. New York probably will come out a little bit tight because suddenly you're going from partying up 3-1 to, my goodness, we better not blow this at home and got to go to Boston for game 7. No Tatum. Man, that would be embarrassing. Like, you know, they're thinking it if we're thinking it too. So, okay, Boston has a lead sometime in the game. The Knicks have to do the thing. Brunson's the guy to do the thing. And though we've seen all the games with Boston big leads, we've also seen most of the games come down to a tight game late. And if it's tight late, now it's Jalen Brunson and Jaylen Brown. And I think we know who we feel better about in that situation. I think that's what the Knicks are hoping for. That's what the books are expecting too, at like -2, 2.5 on the line. So to me, I think we kind of know Boston's going to do some stuff and score the points. I think we know we feel good about New York. If it's close at the end, can New York make it close? Like that third, fourth quarter gap is almost the part that we really need to be capping. Boston's going to do their thing early and get some points. The Knicks can close late, but can the Knicks get it close enough for Brunson to get them over the line? That, I think, is we've seen that in some of the games with their big pushes down 20, 25. And then there's just no push in other games. And now we're at game 6 in a Tibbs series. Are these guys starting to wear down a little bit after a long physical Pistons series? There are reasons you can talk yourselves into New York not quite getting there. And it's easy to see a scenario if you get to game 7 where New York never gets that push against the home crowd and the shots are raining in and Pritchard's on his like 6-3 of the game. And like, you can see that script. We've seen that script plenty of times from the home team, Tatum or not. So the pressure is on New York to get it to the fourth quarter, to hand the keys to Jalen Brunson. I think we all trust him to drive them home if they get there, but can they get there?
Well, the line is set at Knicks -2.5, and the total at 209.5 as it stands right now. And when this one pops before Game 5 even ended, you saw this line start to spurt out there. It was Knicks -3, quickly got bet down. Money coming in on the Celtics side. I actually saw it get down to as low as Celtics +1.5. But things have balanced themselves out. So read into that as you will. We'll get into our bets right now. A reminder that everything that we talk about today can be found in the award-winning Action Network app, as well as quick slips for our picks today in the episode description. We'll go around the horn, give out our best bets, our caps, and then get you on out of here. BA, what you got?
Going back to Peyton Pritchard, 3's escalator. It worked well for us the last time. He gave us 5. Let's hope for 5 again. We're going to play the escalator 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to play Drew Holiday over 4.5 rebounds and an escalator all the way up to 10 on that one. And then I get a little feisty here because I got to keep paying attention to this stupid Celtics Knicks. Give me Al Horford over 3.5 fouls at Bet365. And Mitchell Robinson over 1.5 free throws made plus money. Fight me. Let's go.
That is psychotic. What a waste of a good Mitchell Robinson free throw game in Game 5 as well. All right, Bryan, what you got?
I'm not going to top that. You should have went to me first. I love the Mitchell Robinson one in particular. Similarly, with Peyton Pritchard, I have him over 14.5 points. The Knicks just cannot stop this dude for whatever reason. We'll get to it. Derek White, I took this. It's juiced now, but I took him to get 20 points or more. He's now at 20.5. I think I'm okay with the over there too. And the other prop I have is, again, the only Knick that I can fully trust in this game, Jalen Brunson to score 30-plus points.
I am going all in on the Boston Celtics. Puts the chips into the middle of the table. Plus 2.5 in the game. Celtics plus 225 in the series. And the only way to get there is for Jaylen Brown to be the head honcho. So I will take his over at 25.5. It cashed in Game 5. I'm going to hop right back on it here in this one. I'll go ahead and give out my caps for this, and we'll kind of spray out from there.
I'm dying to hear this.
I think the Knicks really screwed this one up. They had their golden opportunity. Jason Tatum went down, and the Celtics probably felt pretty defeated going into that game. I don't think that what we saw was simply the fallen star win one for the Gipper situation. The Celtics have been a good team this season without Jason Tatum in the lineup. They're 8-2 straight up in the regular season without him. 2-0 straight up now in the playoffs without Jason Tatum. Those are sterling numbers. This is not a knock against Jason Tatum. I think he is legitimately one of the best stars in the NBA. But this is the luxury that you are afforded when you have two elite wings that essentially operate in the exact same way. Jaylen Brown has the ability to be a top 10 player in this league. He just doesn't have to be. Well, now he does. And we've seen him step up in a big way throughout his career with Tatum not in the lineup, which is how I get to the prop as well. He's a 19 points per game guy over the course of his career. He averages 27 points per game when he's the lone star for the Boston Celtics. They want to drive and kick. Jaylen Brown can do that. He's just, his usage goes up. I mean, it's really the same offense. So this isn't like a Giannis goes down for the Bucks or Jokic goes down for the Denver Nuggets where they have to change literally everything. The offense runs the exact same way, and perhaps the defense does take a little bit of a hit. But the Knicks have also been kind of shooting out of their minds in this series, especially late in games. So some of the regression started to hit them in Game 5. If it hits them again, they're going to get blown out. I also think that Missoula has officially given up on Kristaps Porzingis. He's been brutal in this series. Cornette he doesn't need to be great. He just gives them toughness, which is something that they have lacked in this series, which is why the Knicks have control. I think they found something in Game 5, and if they win in Game 6, it's over. The Knicks are not going back to Boston, as they'll probably be 6-point underdogs. So if you like the Celtics to win in Game 6, I think you have to like them to win in the series, and that is where I stand on that. Bryan, is that sort of what you had in mind?
What I'll say is I could see it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna offer much pushback. I mean, while I think the Knicks could win this game, like I don't feel confident in either side. Like I don't want to bet a side. BA doesn't want to bet a side. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of just here. Like I thought the Celtics would win this series beforehand, like most people did who watch basketball and who saw like, hey, one team struggled with the Pistons, the other team put away the Magic. One team is really, really good in the defending champions. The other one has not been good against great teams. And like, this is kind of what played out. And now seeing what we saw last game, you know, the series has not been, it's not been a consistent theme in terms of like every game is the same from the last, except for 1 and 2, which was maddening for other reasons. But Game 3 was its own thing. Game 4 was its own thing. And if anything, Game 5 was probably closer to Game 3, but I think it was still different given the context of Jason Tatum being out. So this game, I don't know what to expect. That being said, look, the Knicks, it should be noted, they shot 47% from 3 in that first half yesterday. And they were in the game, and the shooting tailed off a bit, but they still ended up shooting 40% from 3. So if Boston was shooting lights out from 3, but ended up at 45%, and Boston could do that again. But even if they don't and they get to like the high 30s, low 40s, like I kind of look at the Knicks and I'm like, you guys better hit shots, because I remember the Knicks Pacers series last year. And granted, a lot of people, Knicks fans in particular, will say that they only lost the series because of injuries. But like Game 7 wasn't close because Indy just came out and was just bombing away. They hit like 7 of their first 8 or 9 threes. And Boston is capable of doing that early and taking the crowd out of it. So that's something that I'll be watching for. And yeah, Brandon, I mean, I like the play. I like the courage. I don't think a lot of us are going to want to take a side here. I'll be curious to see what everybody else thinks.
I've kind of ping-ponged throughout the series. I was in on the Celtics at the beginning to sweep. Obviously, I've already taken that loss. Took that one quickly. I thought the Knicks at plus 105, 2 games in, up 2-0, was disrespectful to the percentages historically in the NBA. So I took a little bite of that apple. So I singled up on the Knicks. I am doubling up on the Celtics right now. I think this is a great spot. Brandon, I know that you went.
The other thing real quick is also like Boston is led for most of the series. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's got to be like 80+% at this point. And they have, I think, a plus 35 point differential. Now, granted, a lot of that was with Jason Tatum, but actually a lot of those points were from last night without him. So,
right.
I don't know. I could see it, though. I could totally see it.
Brandon, you're heavily invested in the Boston Celtics at this point, so I think that you're probably nodding along with what I'm saying, just hoping that it comes true.
So yeah, here's what I've got for you. I'm gonna offer a pushback by way of a couple trends, and I'm curious if you were concerned with them. And I'm gonna offer you a same game parlay to let you triple in on the Celtics if you like them. Okay, so here's the trends first. 2 scary trends. The trends are on the Knicks here. I'm not betting the Knicks. Far be it from me, Brandon Anderson, on buckets to bet the Knicks. Can't do it. Game 6 teams up 3-2. Coming off a loss. That's New York. In Bet Labs, 35, 16, and 1 in the last couple decades. 69% cover rate. That is very nice. The Celtics, after winning by double digits since 2020, come out overconfident in the playoffs. This is just the playoffs. Celtics, after a double-digit win, 11, 22, and 1. 33% cover rate, including 0-3 ATS this postseason. Does either of those trends concern you as a Celtics double downer here?
So I would push back on the first one because this is such a unique series for how much of a heavy favorite Boston was. I'd be curious to know how many within that subset were essentially, what was the Celtics price pre-flop at the beginning of the series?
They were minus 1,000 to win the series.
That has to be unique in its nature, which to me doesn't throw out the trend, but it makes it less impactful because I think in these scenarios you have teams that are where the chasm between the two is not as wide as the perceived one was coming into this series. What was the second trend that you gave again? I want to make sure that
the overconfident Celtics trend after a double-digit win.
That one I would buy into if Jason Tatum was healthy.
Yeah, I agree.
I think because he's not, they played like the wounded animal, backed into a corner. I would hope that they don't go into this game going, we got him. They can't have that mindset. And so that overconfidence that would absolutely be there if they were fully healthy and they went, okay, yeah, don't let us get one, in that sort of attitude. They cannot have that. They are still the underdogs in this series, both in reality and in pricing. And in that way, I just don't know how they can carry overconfidence here. So I'm not scared
with that. I am not ready to bet the Knicks on those trends. They do scare me a little bit away from the Celtics. But if you're going to play the Celtics, may I offer you maybe a way to juice the odds a little bit. So obviously,
Please.
we're all talking about the Jays. Tatum is out. Brown's got to play huge. What if the wings on the other side of the court are actually what's determining the series? Let me give you some numbers. Mikal Bridges, game 1, only 8 points, but I believe most or all of those came in overtime. 5 stocks. Remember, he had the huge overtime. He played nearly every minute. He had the game-winning steal at the end of the game or block. Game 2, another Knicks win. 14-7-5 for Mikal. Game 4, Knicks win. 23 for Mikal. The 2 losses, 10 for 24 for Mikal Bridges. 12 and 9 points. Quiet games. OG Anunoby, game 1 win in overtime. 29 points. Game 2, quiet, the one that doesn't really fit here. Game 4 win for the Knicks, 20 points for OG. 2 losses, 1 of 6, 1 of 12, 8 points combined. Is the series being determined not by the Boston Wings, but by the Knicks Wings? And if you like the Celtics, should you like the Celtics like same game parlayed with OG and Mikal points unders? And are those wings and their ability to hit buckets or not, is that a thing?
I think that's absolutely a thing. They were built in. I heard somebody say this. I can't remember who it was. We tune into a lot of content, but the Celtics were built to win a championship. The Knicks were built to beat the Celtics,
Right.
And the guys that are brought in to do exactly that are the players that you're talking about. And so if they don't show up, then there goes the formula. I think there's absolutely something to that. In fact, we're going to go ahead and take it another level, and we're going to name this parlay the Clipped Wings Same Game Parlay.
Ooh, I like
So,
that.
little branding for you. All right, enough about me. Let's get into your caps. Bryan, let's talk about some Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, and Mr. Brunson himself.
One of the reasons I like Brunson, I'll start with him, is also because, going back to OG Anunoby real quick, if you watch him, the hamstring, I think, maybe a little bit more of a thing than people are letting on. And this is part of why the Knicks, one, should feel all the pressure. They have to close this now. I don't think it's an automatic loss if they go back to Boston for Game 7, but you just don't want to risk that, because then what happens is Game 7 is Monday, the series against the Pacers starts Wednesday, and you have Cat's thumb is injured, OG's hamstring is an issue, Jalen Brunson can't stop rolling his ankle, and you have round 3 Tom Thibodeau. Round 3 Tom Thibodeau is historically a very it's interesting, and we'll see if you thought the Knicks broke down last year in round 2, I think people are going to be holding their breath to see what happens in round 3. Jalen Brunson is the only Knick who I'm like, he's absolutely showing up tomorrow. Now, he could miss a ton of shots and could still like foul bait his way to 30 points, if we're being honest. But coming off of fouling out early, the Knicks getting their ass whooped, I'm looking at him like, okay, he's the guy that's going to respond. He's also kind of low-key had his way a little more than I thought he would have with Derek White, with Drew Holiday in certain spots. Like, he's comfortable posting up Derek White from like 15 feet out and getting his shot. It's not the most efficient shot all the time, but it's a shot that he can make, and he's made it repeatedly. He gets left open on threes a little too often. I think Boston, that's something that they need to clean up. But like, Jalen Brunson is the guy that I feel like, all right, he'll need help. 30 points for Jalen Brunson doesn't mean a Knicks victory at all. Like, it's not something I would say, hey, if you think Jalen Brunson is going to score 30, parlay it with the Knicks victory. I don't think that at all, because I think at least one of the other 3 in Mikal, actually the other 4, at least 2 of them, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns, better do something. And that's part of like what we've been talking about here. So yeah, I think Jalen Brunson will get his 30 points here. The other 2, a little more obvious.
Let me chime in with the Brunson thing, Bryan. I have
Sure.
a possible escalator idea for you. You may have to bet this today before Thursday, before the game tonight. So you can bet at both DraftKings and Bet365 points leader for the second round. Jalen Brunson was the points leader in round 1. He was like 14-1. This round, Jalen Brunson has 134 points. Jokic is leading with 150. Shea's at 141. So those are your main competitors there. Donovan Mitchell's leading, but done, obviously, and one of these guys or more will pass him. So Brunson's 16 back of Jokic. He's 7 back of Shea. Obviously, I think, pretty obviously, if you get a game 7 in one series and not the other series, like that's game over for the points leader for one of the ways. So if you wanted to bet a Thunder Celtics money line parlay, so the Thunder end their series in 6, but the Celtics extend it to 7, that's around plus 235. Brunson's plus 275 at DraftKings to lead the series in points, or to lead the round in points. So you're already getting a better price on a theoretical money line parlay, which isn't going to, like, the only way Brunson doesn't win then if he gets like 15 points in one of the two games, or rolls the ankle, I suppose. So there's that. There's also just the possibility that unless Jokic has another huge game, Brunson could drop 40-ish, which he's done. He's at a 39 in the series. And even if both games end in 6 or both go to 7, he could still close the gap and get there. Brunson plus 275, second round points leader. Obviously, if you are listening to this Friday, we've got new information on the Thursday games and those numbers will have shifted, but maybe in our favor. Bryan, what do you think about the Brunson second round points leader idea?
I love it because I would never have thought of it. Like, like I love that you just think of these things. Like you're like, all right, this is a bet you can have off that.
It's nothing.
It's ridiculous. I love how your mind works. I'm intrigued by it. It's interesting because, like, I mean, you kind of need the Knicks and only the Knicks and Celtics to have a game 7. Like that's basically the bet.
Yeah.
And obviously, if that happens, then you like Brunson there. The only thing is, I would say, and we're recording this obviously before Game 6 tonight, but I'm not betting Denver, but I kind of, I'm not out on them the way some people seem to be, where it's like, oh, OKC's definitively going to finish this. I don't think I'm betting that game, but I'll be watching for live betting opportunities. That's nice. I'll be watching for live betting opportunities. Okay. Celtics. Payne Pritchard over 14.5 points. He took 17 shots last game. Like without Jason Tatum, the last 10 or 12 games without Jason Tatum. He's played 12 games without Jason Tatum this year. Is averaged north of 18. Now, regular season, some of these are against like Charlotte and Portland and things of that nature. But he had 17 last game, took 17 shots, and I think he played a ton. He played 39 minutes coming off the bench. Like these are all things that are replicable, I guess is the word. English.
Repeatable.
Communications major, not an English major necessarily.
Is
but anyway,
replicatable not a word? I thought you nailed it.
I don't know. Maybe should be. We're making up words every fucking day. If you notice, Payne Pritchard over 14.5 points. He's gonna get the volume. The Knicks, for whatever reason, like they can't. Like they don't have someone that can guard him consistently. It's weird.
It's so bizarre.
And it's like, yeah, and it's like, but also it's like you're not going to put Mikal Bridges on him because then it's like who somebody else needs to be guarded by Mikal Bridges at all times, not Payne Pritchard. So it's like, all right, so Deuce McBride's going to do it, and Payne Pritchard's like, okay, cool. This is what I pay people to play me one-on-one for in the summer. You know what I mean? Same thing with Jalen Brunson. Yesterday he crossed up Jalen Brunson and had a step back 3. Like. He has all the confidence in the world just in general, but also when he's being guarded by the small guys on the Knicks. And also he can mismatch hunt. He'll get Karl-Anthony Towns. He has a speed advantage, obviously, on Mitchell Robinson. Like he just gets his against his team. And without Jason Tatum, is he their third best scoring option now behind Jaylen Brown and Derek White? He probably is. And then when you look at Derek White, I took him over 20 points, over 19.5 points, or to score 20 or more. Right now, I think it's available at 20.5. I think that's already moved, which I'm fine with. Derek White, when Jason Tatum's out there, they just leave him open. And when Jason Tatum is not in the game, they still leave him open. He was making every 3 possible. Now, there were a couple of misguided attempts also, like just heat check shots, but like he's going to bomb away from 3. His over-under for 3s is 4.5, and I think he can get the over. Like Derek White is just, he's a wagon against his team. He's going to be on the corners. He's going to be moving without the ball. He's going to be crashing the glass too, the offensive glass, trying to get those second chance opportunities, those putbacks. Like he just does a lot of the right things that kill the Knicks. So it's not just the 3-point shooting. And he could do a little bit more with the ball now that Jason Tatum's not there. So like I just think all three of these guys have good matchups. These are guys that I trust in this situation. And hopefully all 3 cash, or at the very least 2 of them.
I'll be honest. I think if you go 2-0 on the Celtics bets, the Celtics are winning this game. I just don't see a scenario where Derek White goes off, Peyton Pritchard goes off, but here come the Knicks.
Well, to be fair, I think if you tell me all 3 of them hit, I would probably tell you the Celtics still win because of who the guys are. You know what I mean? Unless Jaylen Brown, what did Jaylen Brown do? And it's like, oh, he was, 6 for 20 or whatever. I guess that's the deciding factor. But again, Jalen Brunson getting his doesn't tell me what happens with everyone else. And the everyone else for the Knicks matters. So.
All right, Brandon, you've got 4 different plays, some escalators as you are one to do. Hit me with it.
Yeah, let me chime in first with the Peyton Pritchard stuff, because it's pretty similar to what Bryan said. Here's some numbers for with Peyton Pritchard. When he gets at least 8 3-point attempts, and I was just going to do 3-point attempts, but I was like, nah, he's getting the attempts. He's usually making them. When he gets at least 8 up, which he's done 48 times this season, he makes at least 3 3-pointers, 40 out of 48. That's 83% hit rate. So 3 makes is minus 185 at DraftKings. A number like that is meant to scare us off as bettors, but that's like 65% implied. It's 83% hitting. So we can start there with the escalator. With 8 plus attempts, he hits 4 69% of the time. We're getting plus 132 at FanDuel, and he makes at least 5, almost half, 46% of the time. That one is 3-1. I'm going to stop the escalator there. 6 or more drops off dramatically for him. So we're not getting too greedy. 3, 4, and 5. Some other numbers with Pritchard. So far this series, 2 games, he's played big minutes. He had 34 minutes in our escalator the first time. He went 5 of 10. He had 39 minutes last game. He went 5 of 14 just on threes. For the series, he's averaging a 3-point attempt almost every 3 minutes for the entire series. Like, dude is getting them up. When he's on the court, the shots are flying. And I think what we saw from Boston is what we kind of had to see, which is Peyton Pritchard won 6th Man of the Year. Peyton Pritchard's about the only other guy Boston can really rely on. They're not getting Dikembe Cornette again. Sam Hauser can only do so much, is not playing healthy. Porzingis suddenly looks like not even really a starter. Maybe he starts but doesn't play too much from there. Pritchard's got to play. Like, they don't have other options. And they leaned in to a smaller, more spaced out lineup. And I think that's what we're going to see again, because obviously it worked well. So this season, Pritchard has played at least 34 minutes 14 times. So it's not a huge amount. But when he's done that, he's averaging 4.2 3-points on 10.5 attempts. He's averaging over 20 points a game. So that works well for Bryan's 15 points a game. He's done that 10 out of the 14. I like just the threes, because I think if he's going to score, it's going to be on the threes anyway. In those 14 games with hefty minutes, 4 more threes, 10 out of 14, 71% hit rate. Again, we're getting plus 132 at that number. He's had 5 or more threes in exactly half of those games. 50%, we're at plus 300 there. So Pritchard, threes escalator, 3, 4, and 5. Similar logic, but different player. I think what we need to notice is if Peyton Pritchard's on the floor with Derek White, those are your guards now. Jrue Holiday is now a forward. So Jrue Holiday is playing up a bit, and that's why I like Jrue Holiday's rebounds. For the rest of the series before Game 5, he was averaging 9 rebound chances a game, just under 4 actual rebounds per game. In Game 5, with Tatum out, that went up to 16 chances, almost double on the glass, and he had 7 rebounds. So he's not necessarily dominating. He's just getting more chances. He's a big dude. He's got a long wingspan and frame. He traditionally has been a pretty good rebounder. So last season in the playoffs, actually, he had at least 6 rebounds in almost 2/3 of their games, 12 out of 19. He had at least 8 rebounds in a third of the game, 6 out of 19. So his rebound line here is over 4.5. I did look first at rebound assists. I think his assists are kind of ticking up a little bit as well, but I feel better about the rebounds. So I'm just going to keep it here. Over 4.5 is even odds, plus 102 at FanDuel. And then we'll take just a little nibble on the escalator on the way up. 6 rebounds or more, plus 220. 8 or more is 800 to 1. Not 800 to 1, plus 800. 800 to 1 would be nice. We'd be betting a lot more on that one.
I would definitely take that.
So plus 220, that's the one that's been hitting 2 of 3 times last playoffs. 8 to 1 is the one that hit 1 of 3 last playoffs. The rebounds are a little lower this year, and he's obviously played not as well. But I think The one thing we know about Drew historically is he's going to fight hard all the time, and he can play a lot of minutes if they need him, and they need him. They need a lot of minutes right now. And then the last part on the escalator, double-double is 29-1. These are all at FanDuel for Drew Holiday. He's only a one double-double all year, and it wasn't even with rebounds. So I don't love our chances here, but in the playoffs last year, he had 3 double-doubles in his last 8 games of the playoffs, and he missed 2 more by 1 rebound. Those are all rebound double-doubles. So he might not even get the points. If you want just the rebounds, it's 22-1. But just taking a little sprinkle on, I trust Drew to show up. I don't trust him to hit shots anymore this year. Hopefully we get a couple like offensive rebounds. He's had 10 so far this series, a couple putbacks, some easy points there. But if the rebounds are there, he's probably playing enough to get some points along the way as well. So over 4.5 rebounds, even odds, and then 6, 8, and up to the double as the escalator there. The other 2 caps I'll be brief on, but any thoughts from you guys on the Drew Holiday rebounds thing?
Yeah, he's. I think it's a savvy look. He had 7 rebounds in his last game, and you just see a veteran like him know how to find his spots and how to help impact the team. It's what I love about Drew Holiday and Drew Holiday type players is the shot's not falling and they don't just like evaporate like Jalen Green. They find other ways to impact the game, and Drew Holiday he's a tough player. He's not easy to box out for these opposing guards. So I like that look.
All right, Al Horford, over 3.5 fouls. A real prop you can actually bet at Bet365. He's gone over it in 4 of the 5 games so far. He had no fouls in the Game 3 win by 22. So that was the game New York didn't even show up at all for. If you think that's happening again, you shouldn't play this one. If you think this is tight or a Knicks win, Horford has 4, 4, 4, and 5 fouls in the other games. Why? Porzingis is cooked. Porzingis can't play. Horford's the only big man. Karl-Anthony Towns has been pretty good this series and pretty consistent, to be honest. It's those wings that have been a lot more inconsistent. And Horford is Horford. Like he's on an expiring deal at age 38 for a reason. He can't quite keep up like he used to. And quite frankly, probably a foul or 2 of those is wrapping up Mitchell Robinson to put him on the line, which is why Mitchell Robinson over 1.5 free throws made at plus money, plus 110. 2 of the games, Robinson made no free throws. He took only 1. In 3 of the games, he's had 6 for 6. My man turned into Steve Nash at the line in Game 5, and 4 of 12 and 3 of 10. So when they've done the hack of Mitch, he's obviously getting a lot of shots, 6, 10, and 12 at the line. Now look, if you want, you could just bet over 3.5 attempts. You don't have to make them then. You just need 2 hackas. 2 hackas and you're over the line. That's minus 120. If you're a coward, I want Mitchell to earn my money for me. Make some free throws, my man. Over 1.5 free throws, plus 110. You know I'm going to take the better juice on it, so I got to do it.
That is going to be the ugliest sweat in the history of sweats.
This entire series to me is the ugliest sweat. So why not add to it with Mitchell Robinson at the line?
You know how a lot of teams, I don't know if they do this during the playoffs. They definitely do it during the regular season across the league, where if you opposing player misses 2 free throws in the fourth quarter, then like the whole crowd gets free chicken nuggets or something. This guy's feeding families. The way he misses free throws. That's a bold one. Bryan, are you going to tail him on it?
Probably. Definitely the Mitchell Robinson one for sure. Because like part of me wants to sweat. Like that's one where I'm like, all right, here we go. Right. You know what I mean? And it's a low number where I'm like, he's gonna get fouled multiple times, you know.
I mean, don't you want to feel, think of how alive you're gonna feel when Mitchell goes 0 of 4 on his first 4 attempts. Right. And there's like 4 minutes left in the game, and you got one last hacka, and he goes to the line for 2, and you need them both now. Think of how alive you'll feel in that moment.
Try explaining that to your relatives this weekend while you're watching basketball.
Especially if he makes the first one, then it's like, oh my goodness, you're gonna lock arms with the people beside you for good luck. You know what I mean?
I mean, he's putting these places out of business. Let me tell you guys about Underdog Fantasy, one of the best places to make picks during playoff basketball. Well, they score some buckets. You can score some cash. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play right now in your state. Their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. To play, all you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower than one of their stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, a lot of the things that we've talked about on today's episode. Once you lock in your picks, you can play with as little as $1. And if everything goes right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. I love Underdog. I play it daily. That's where I slam together my cross-sport plays, pitcher strikeouts, along with NBA player points, rebounds, and assists. They also have threes you can attack. Download the Underdog app and sign up with the promo code BUCKETS100 to unlock a special offer and up to $1,000 in bonus cash to make your first deposit. That's promo code BUCKETS100, all one word. Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text Hope NY. So to review, I am on the Celtics plus 2.5 in the full game, Celtics plus 225 to win the series. And for the record, if I do end up winning that, if the Celtics end up winning the game, I will be laying back with a pina colada in Game 7 with that plus 225. I will not be betting into that game at all. Jaylen Brown over 25.5 points scored. Brandon Anderson on Peyton Pritchard. Threes escalator up to 5. Drew Holiday over 4.5 rebounds at plus 106 on FanDuel, along with some rebound escalators. Al Horford over 3.5 fouls, and Mitchell Robinson over 1.5 free throws made. I look forward to seeing whether or not that one comes through. And Bryan is on Derek White, 20-plus points. Peyton Pritchard over 14.5 points scored. And JB, Jalen Brunson, 30-plus points. If you want to tail any of the bets that we've discussed in this episode, find the quick slip in the podcast description or the YouTube description. You can also go to actionnetwork.com/bet now. Shout out to our producer, David Payne. Cannot wait to see how this one plays out. That's a wrap for the Friday episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's get buckets.